All right, well, let's get today started. Dr. Alejandra, thank you so much for being here. I am beyond excited. I followed you in a couple of different panels that you've been, so I'm excited that you had some time to come and join us. And well, before I do anything else, do you want to tell our students who you are, what you do?
Excellent. Yes. Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Alejandra Roderiguez. I am in Austin, Texas, and I am a cross-cultural and leadership development consultant and coach. And I work with organizations to develop leaders. I always say that in the business of making leaders, I work with organizations to make them culturally competent so they can leverage cultural diversity and they can leverage the potential that diverse employees can bring. And I help organizations become stronger, but of course, through their people. That is my main thing. I help organizations become stronger through their people, specifically with human-centric leadership skills and culturally attuned leadership skills so they can lead effectively the diverse workforce that we have nowadays. So very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Gaby.
Of course. I'm really excited. And I know when we first spoke on the phone, I remember you telling me I don't have a lot of IO background. Like, that's not really what I do. And I'm like, literally, everybody that's in the IO field is just all over the place. And I know a lot of the work that you do is very, very similar to what the IO field tend to do. If that there's even a definition for that. So
exactly.
So
yes, actually, let me tell you, I am so I have my own consulting firm, Alejandra Coaching and Consulting, and I'm also one of the 3 co-founders of El Puente Institute, and that's another organization that provides professional services around leadership development with a focus on the Latino community. So, and one of those co-founders has a PhD in IO psychology, so I know exactly what the field is. And yes, you're right. There are a lot of things that are related to everyone who works with organizations trying to make them stronger and better and of course, focusing on people. So there are many things that we share, of course.
Yay. And before I ask you the very first question, I'll give you a little bit of context why we meet bi-weekly, all of us students, or I was a student. I'm a student of life, I guess you can say. I started this because I'm a first generation. I didn't have a lot of guidance. I didn't have a lot of help in understanding what I needed to do when I went to college. I just kind of did the classes, did my homework, graduated, and then I was like, okay, now what? And then I realized that a lot of us in the IO field specifically, we don't have a lot of guidance just yet in helping us understand what do we need to do to get to roles or job titles or just the dream job that we all want, whatever that may be. There's not a lot of clear paths created for us there. So I thought, why not just get all of us together in a room and bring a bunch of different practitioners and just people that are in the field doing things that are similar or doing things that are very related to IO, so we can help ourselves understand what do we need to do. So my first question to you is, how did you get to where you're at right now? And you can start with your very, very early career development, just to kind of give us an idea of how did you go from graduation or maybe not even knowing what you wanted to do to now, I mean, owning your own consultancy and working with this other Bridgify group, which is amazing. Like the work that y'all do is just great. So help us understand a little bit and give us a little bit of context if you can.
Oh, well, I also sometimes I ask myself that question, how on earth am I doing what I'm doing after all this time? Well, first of all, we have to say that I have been working for a long time. I've been working for more than 30 years. So some of you were not born when I finished college. I finished college in 1991. I was a very young, I was in Mexico, so I'm an immigrant. I'm a foreign-born Latina. So I was born in Mexico. I was born in Monterrey. And at that time, we had a very short high school. So I finished high school in 2 years. So it was different. Then college. So I was very young when I finished college. And of course, you have no idea what you're doing, right? Honestly, you have no idea. Now, in hindsight, I know that there's still so many gaps and so many questions about what life is, what work is, what professional development is, and things like that. So I actually majored in English. I was an English major. So I was a reader. I remember reading the books that my father had in at home, and some of those were read under the blankets, hiding because I wasn't allowed to read those books. So I was a big reader, and I was not very good at math. That boat came and went, and I didn't go on, and I was not very good at math. So I did a lot of reading, so that I chose to be an English major. And there was the English major that at point that it was in Mexico had a lot of linguistics, a lot of philosophy. So it was a very complete social linguistics. So it was my first, in one way or another, it was my first interaction with this understanding of the world from a different perspective, thinking about culture, thinking about social groups, thinking about how humans interact with each other. So there was a lot about that. So that was kind of the first introduction to that world of, let's see how we relate to each other. But and after that, I became a teacher. So at first, I was a teacher for a long time, and then as in my teaching career, I went to administration. I became an administrator, and as an administrator, you start understanding the dynamics of the workplace, right? You start understanding how sometimes things work beautifully, and some teams work beautifully, and some projects run so smoothly, and sometimes they don't. And many times when they don't is because of the people, right? They are not working well together, or their personality conflicts, there's power dynamics, all those things, right? So I started noticing that. And then I decided to come here to the US to get my PhD. And I got a master's in education back there. I've always been a big student. I like to read. So I came here to work on a PhD. I only applied to UT Austin. I was not going to go anywhere else. And they took me, and I was surprised. I was like, wow, they took me. It was not my intention to get a PhD. I wasn't going to get another master's, but of course, the discussion there was, you have a master's already, get a PhD. And that PhD changed my life. It was a PhD in, at that point, was culture and literacy. Again, culture. So we were talking about culture more at societal level, at the not exactly within organizations, but the broader social, political, and cultural context. So that changed my life. That really made me see the world through a very different understanding, through the understanding of how all those contexts that I mentioned, the social, cultural, political context, affect everything that we do. And also confirm the idea that a big part of all that is also culture. So with that PhD changed my life in the terms, like, I started looking at organizations. At that point, it was educational organizations and the same things. What were the power dynamics? Who was being heard? Who was being seen? Who was being paid attention? Who had power? Who does not have power? So, as you might know, everything that is outside in society gets reflected, or is reflected in the organizational level, right? Our organizations mirrored what we see in the outside context. So I started working with organizations, kind of trying to make them better. First, I was at the educational level, right? Trying to help teachers, trying to help administrators, trying to help people at district level. And then from that, it was a natural transition to move that towards other organizations that were not exactly in education. So it's been, it's been interesting. It's been, I think the common thread is that understanding of humans, of culture, a little bit of an anthropological understanding of it, but also very, very curious. What has driven me in many ways is that understanding of how can we relate to each other better? How can we work together better? How we can make teams work better. And I think it still fascinates me when I go into an organization. For me, that detective work to see and understand what is working well, what is not working well, and why. What are the points of conflict, the points of where things are not running smoothly or as smoothly as they can, because they never run 100% smoothly, right? But it's always, for me, it's fascinating to understand. And for me, it has to do a lot with human interaction. And human interaction, human action is based on culture, right? And within a specific context. So that's more a little bit about that.
I love that because every time I ask that question, the path is so diverse. I mean, people start in education, some people start in counseling, some people start, I mean, design. Like there's all kinds of different ways that you land into this kind of work. And although I feel like just because there's no paper saying you're an IO, I feel like you're an IO. I mean, you have this passion for understanding the human connection, how humans work in the workplace and how to make it better. And I feel like that's the essence of ensuring that we have healthier workplaces or we have better interactions among each other. LR mentioned that he's an English and psych double major in college also, and they hate stats. Understanding. So, and I guess I went into the math side, and last student meetup, this is a completely side note. Last meetup, we talked about IO being a two-sided coin. You have the analytical side where it's all data analysis and statistics and all the numbers and the boring side, I think. And you have the organizational part, which is the people side, where you get to work with the people, you do the work that you're doing. So their question is, how do you get into the people side of things fresh from a IO master's graduation? And I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I was very, how can I say? I was very authentic and very true to myself without a lot of effort, honestly, just because I have a terribly pull towards people. So I'm very relational. I get into the story right away. So I connect at a level. So for me, there was no option. I mean, I and I think other people saw that in me, right? So there was no, not even a possibility that I was going to stay in the statistics side, right? There was no way. I mean, and I had people who were working in my along with me in dissertations, and a lot of them had statistics research projects and quantitative projects with a lot of big data, and they loved it, right? I think for me, there was always a very easy, visible inclination not to do that, right? I think that uh, you have to be very clear about what you like and what you want, and express it and share it with others and make it very visible in the projects that you choose, in the volunteer work that you do, in your internships, in anything. I think that start creating that story about who is it that you want and who are you, who you want to be. And I think it's a matter of I mean, the phrase that I use is, I think it's around creating the story of who you are, right? Like by what do you choose? What I think that would be the best thing. I mean, it's different, right? It's very different, but I think that would be like, make sure that everything you do. I mean, I remember that when I started my PhD, my advisor told me just start thinking, and I was able to get an advisor soon enough. And this is years ago, right? I began my dissertation in the year 2000 and finished 2005. So many years ago, things are very complicated now from what I've heard. But at that point, it was a different story. And they told me the advice was everything that you do from now on, every project, every class, every book, try to connect that project to your dissertation. So you are adding to that body of work. So you are contributing to that. So that is a very strategic way of thinking about that. So if you want to do something that is, and I apologize for the puppy barking, hope you don't hear. If you want to go into a specific direction, ensure that everything that you're doing, the conversation that you're having, the people that you're talking to, they know that, right? They where you want to go, and have it very clear for yourself first. I hope that was helpful.
No, that completely makes sense. And you guys feel free to raise your hand and ask questions if you want to, or put it on the chat, whatever feels easier. Remember, this is a super laid back group. We just come in here and chat, so don't feel afraid like you have to say the right thing or whatever. So I think it makes complete sense, because sometimes, especially right after graduation, we feel that pressure of, let's apply to all these places and let's just try to get a job. And depending on people's situation, sometimes I can be guilty of that. Like, I needed a job. I needed to get right into work and have to, I have to pay the bills. So I went back to my counseling job as soon as I graduated. And then from there, I started looking into exactly what you're saying. Like, what do I want to do? I love both sides. I got into the data analysis aspect of the IO right now, because it's something that I feel I was a little weak in, and I needed to expand those skills a little bit more. I feel like with my counseling background, the people sides I already have a little bit of an advantage, because I like you, kind of like you, like I can relate to people and I can talk to people, and I don't have a lot of struggles or challenges. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but I feel more comfortable. And for me was, okay, so how do I expand in this field in a way that I don't yet feel comfortable? And then that was my decision. Let me go into, I'm doing institutional research in higher education right now, completely out of my behavioral health world, but I'm learning a lot. So I think when you are intentional, you definitely walk in with a different mentality.
I think that, I don't know if the students are here mostly undergrads or grad students. I think that one thing that I was very helpful for me in my both my master's and my PhD is that I was always working, and I was always I always had a foot in the real world, right? In the and it's very different. It's very different from academia, and it's very different from the amazing community that we can have in the classroom. So I think that was something that helped me a lot in that aspect. I in my case, my work was my part-time work that I had when I was working. It was not exactly my view of the world, like society and culture and people. It was more like he says, more hard science. But I learned a lot from that as well, right? I know how they talk. I know what's important to them. I know what terms they use. I know how they see the world. I know what is their priority. So that helped me a lot, even though it wasn't 100% my take, right? So I was able to learn that and keep it there. I was not able to do it because I didn't have the statistics of that, but I knew what was important to them. So I think my number one advice that I always tell people now is that find a way always, whether you're an undergrad or master's or PhD, and you have time to work or you don't have time to work, find a way to go to the real world and implement what you want to implement. Sometimes we have to do it. Like I said, everything that you start doing, make it in a way that you're getting closer to what you want, or that it at least gives you information and awareness. If you volunteer in a way that you can practice the things that you want to practice and you want to do, and what you are very curious about. If you have to have a 10-hour job, make sure that it goes to that, right? And everything that is, so you have a possibility to start again creating that story about what is it that you want to do, and believe in it, like LR says, right? They're like, well, they want to prove it's a hard science, and they want to do. Yeah, a lot of psychologists are like that. We had a lot of educational psychologists. All my educational psychologists colleagues when I was on a PhD, they were all in big data. The big data set, there was all statistics, and it was psychology, right? So yeah, it's very much like that. So um, be aware of that and make sure that, okay, if I don't want that, okay, I'm gonna start moving into the direction that I want. And every single, a paper, a class, a book, a conference that you go, and find ways to do it, to apply it. Like I said, if you volunteer, whatever is important to you, the church, or I don't know, or whatever, or this organization, or your family business, or your uncle's business, find a way to apply what you're doing. And I think sometimes we are afraid because we think that we are not there, or we are not good enough, or I'm just a student. But if you have taken a class on anything, talk to your uncle. And it's like, not that I did that, I'm saying something that I did not do because nobody told me this, what I'm telling. But it's like, hey, can I apply? Can I do a little study in your company? Can I do a little, can I answer this survey? I just want to get a survey. Can you or can you team answer this survey that I'm trying to test questions, so I'm trying to test frameworks or something. I think sometimes we are not very strategic because we think that we don't know or something. And talking to people, have to talk to people. We are talk to people and share and always. An advice that I was also given at some point: say who you are and say what you need. Like, I am this and this, and I am looking for an opportunity to, whether it's a job or not, an opportunity to try something what I'm learning. I want to, and there are a lot of organizations that are nonprofit that need a lot of support. And I think it's then a win-win for everyone, right? You can practice, you can apply, and the organization can receive some of your help. There are tons of organizations that have absolutely a very limited budget. And if you come and say, I have this framework that I want to try, I want to see how it looks in reality, in the real world, I think a lot of them might agree. And I think it's one of the things that was essential for me, and I also give this advice, is that you have to see the world. I mean, not see the world, see how things work in the world as soon as possible, as soon as in internships or small projects or something, because I think it's essential to understand how the corporations work, organizations work, because it can be hard. they struggle. A lot of them struggle, as you know.
I like that you're saying
Yeah.
that, because I feel like you're diving a little bit into imposter syndrome right after graduation. During school, we're excited, we're learning, and we just want to tell the world. And then we graduate, and it's like, okay, do I really know what I'm talking about? Do I have the credibility or the reputation, or whatever you name it? I feel like there's a little bit of fear. So I want to ask you about that. But I also feel like you're diving into how do we bring all of this knowledge that we gather or that we get in school and start applying it. So I'll ask you first about your thoughts on imposter syndrome. Have you dealt with that? What do you do with that? Yes, I the worst. The
Well,
worst. That's
I love imposter syndrome. I'm gonna say it I'm clear, because it's only showing that you are putting your toes inside different and more exciting waters. And if you don't feel imposter syndrome, it's that you are not putting yourself out there. If you, it is, you have to feel it. It's good. I mean, I know it feels terrible. You have an anxiety there, and but if you reframe it and you think about it, wow, I'm feeling this because I'm doing something completely different. I am going to the big leagues, or however you want to call it. And you think like, wow, I'm feeling this. Because if not, of course I felt it. I was a teacher, and I'm from another country with English is not even my language. I make mistakes every single day with my English. I have an accent. And even last night I was in a little network event, and of course I felt it was all tech. Of course, Austin is full of tech. I don't do math, I don't do tech, right? So, and I'm like, of course I feel like, what am I doing here with all these tech founders and funders and then you're like, okay, of course I'm older, so I can be like, oh, whatever, you'll be fine. But I want you to reframe it is like, I'm having this opportunity, whatever it is, applying to a new job, applying to a new project, I'm having this opportunity. And the fact that I have this feeling in my stomach, that means that I'm doing something that is new, challenging, different, exciting. And it might feel terrible, but worst case scenario is that I could not have this feeling. And that means that I would be in my comfort zone and I would be very happy there. So,
Mhm.
and it's temporary. It is completely temporary. It will go away. It's just learning. It's just learning. It will go away. And of course, welcome it. Say hi to it. And then like, hey, you won't be here with me the whole time. So you'll be gone. So, but I think that it is a lot of learning that is going to happen. So whenever you feel it learning, I'm feeling like, oh, I'm feeling it, and okay, I'm going to grab it and I'm going to do it. So I think that is very, very important, right? And say, I always push people to say yes to things. Like, look for the things. If you can, if it's going to be a conference at the university, oh, let me go and see if I can be the MC. Let me go and see if I can help, volunteer. I'll meet people. I think I missed a lot of opportunities. That's one thing that I know now. I missed a lot of yeses because I kept saying no's to me. No, my English is not good. No, I don't do math. No, I don't understand tech. No, I don't understand computers. No, I hate this. No, 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 no. And it's not until later, and I'm older, when you start saying yes, 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 and then you're going to be running out of time because the people are going to be half your age and, and things like that. So, so say yes, look for things, go around, find volunteers. I mean, of course, with the time and always with your plan, with your objective inside, right? So,
Yes,
yeah,
and I think we do have to be intentional because I am super guilty of adding a bunch of things of my on my plate and then having no time
exactly.
later. Um,
Exactly. Be careful, right? But if you're strategic, and
mhm.
if you're strategic, I mean, one thing is to try to volunteer and save the world everywhere and everything, and one thing is to be very strategic, right? It's strategic about how do we do everything that we do goes with that direction of where we want to go, right?
Yes, and just some comments from the chat. Tayana, you said that there, yeah, total growth mindset. It is a growth mindset because you do have to shift from I don't think I can do this to, you know what, it is uncomfortable and I feel all of this, but I'm still going to do it anyway. And I think that's the most exciting part of saying, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing. I started saying that, like, guys, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here. And sometimes being authentic and saying, hey, I feel like this, that worked for me because then people laughed and I was like, okay, oh, everybody's human. I'm fine.
And you
And then
have to read, your people. You have to know
yes, yes.
when you can say that, right? And
Yes.
also you have to say, use a word yet. I'm not doing this yet, or I do not have 100% fluency in whatever is the topic skill yet. So that's very helpful. Another thing that when I say to Ron, when he says, I just say I don't know. What did he say? He said I don't know, but I've learned some folks hear that as I don't care. Yeah, don't say I don't know. Just say, oh, I'm checking on that. I'm checking on that. I'll get back to you. I'm on top of that. I'll get back to you. I have to go and confirm my understandings or my beliefs, but I'll get back to you. So don't say I don't know. Just say I'll get back to you. I have to confirm my what I'm thinking, and I'll get back to you. So that's one thing that I just wanted to to make sure that we have. Okay. So yeah, not there yet. Total growth mindset. Yes, exactly. There's another question there, Gaby. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Oh, and before I forget, I was going to add to your comment. Sometimes just saying, you know what, I haven't thought about that in that way. Tell me more about your perspective, and helping them tell you something that you may not be very well qualified to talk about or anything like that. You put it back on them, and that's a good coping skill when you're in that situation, when you're like, oh crap, I don't know anything about this. You can always say, you know what, I haven't looked at it from that perspective. Tell me more about that. And then you get that conversation going without looking like you're at deer in the headlights. Okay, question. How do you
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. How do you explain you are qualified for entry-level HR positions, learning and development, talent and management positions in your resume to even get past the screener who spends 2 minutes per resume? Oh, okay. Do you have thoughts on this? How do you explain your qualifications for all of these job positions if there's not a lot of information?
Yes, and it's hard. It's very hard. The job market is very hard. It's very competitive as we are now. It's not, it is people you used to, again, I'm showing my age, but you could call people right on the phone and you would, they would answer. And it's very, very difficult. I don't have a lot of advice because I don't do career coaching, but things that I know work is, it's a matter of numbers. It's a matter of numbers. So if you have to apply to 100 positions, 100, sometimes you have to apply to 100. So that's what I've heard. So it's a matter of numbers. It's a matter of reaching out to recruiters, again, reaching out, saying yes, right? Reaching out to recruiters, they might not get back to you, but that's what we can do, right? Reaching out to people, always talking to people, go to the company. I mean, I've had people who they reach out to me like, I'm looking for a job. And of course I don't even work in a company, so I'm like, well, I can help you. But okay, I know that. But if you are thinking of a job, you see a position, go to the company, learn about the company, reach out to the people, the recruiters, some of the managers around the area where you're going to be working, and say, well, I applied to this position. This is this. Can I talk to you? And keep it brief, right? Keep those LinkedIn messages brief, to the point, but reach out. And I think it's a matter of numbers, and it's hard. I mean, yes, the screeners are hard. It's hard for everyone. I've heard a lot of people who are really struggling. So that's something that we just have to keep doing. Regarding certifications, I think it depends again on what you want, right? If you want to go more the HR route, of being more HR generalist and things like that, the SHRM certification is very useful, right? It's very, I know a lot of people want the certification. But again, depending on what you want, don't add certifications just to add certifications. That is not going to go well. And don't add them; they're too expensive. I mean, I think that sometimes we get too many certifications, but I think that it depends. If you see your possibility of getting more, get the one that you really like, and reach out to people. And sometimes. And I do that a lot because I have to sell my services, right? So I am continually reaching out to people, and sometimes when you think you've done enough, you have to do more. So that it's important. I have this book here, funny enough, leads, right? How, of course, I'm a business owner. I have to get leads, right? I have to be prospective, and the cracks me up. Guiding principles. Do more. That's it. So that's it. Only 2 words. Do more. So I mean, I know it's not the answer that we want to hear sometimes, but sometimes when we think that we have reached out enough, maybe we can reach out more. No, I mean, without, of course, killing ourselves in that 10, right? But sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's a little luck. Sometimes it's people that we know. That's why all the work that you can do before of reaching out strategically, right? Not just random things, because very strategically is what can help them later. And we struggle because we are young and because to think strategically, because it's a skill that nobody teaches us. I mean, unless you guys have a class about how to think strategically, no one ever talked to me about that of planning. And I'm a mother, I have a kid, and I can see that he struggles with that kind of planning. And he's a 15-year-old kid, so of course he's young. But it is something that is very important. That's why my other advice that I have is pay attention to those soft skills, right? That sometimes are needed to relate to people. So influencing skills and conflict resolution and executive prep, things like that. I mean, think about those skills that are essential to start developing as a leader. Sometimes we forget about those. Again, I never learned those skills. I never heard about the word influencing, as not in the influence that we have now in social media, but influencing skills that people receive training on. Also, there's training out there. So learn about those skills, the skills that are needed to be a leader. And nowadays, there's a lot of sources of education. I mean, you not formal, but if you are a member of LinkedIn Premium, you have access to LinkedIn Learning, tons of courses there. So find ways to at least become aware of those skills that I think are essential to be in the workplace.
Yes, Diana, go ahead.
Hi, Alejandra. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank
I
you.
have a question. I put it in the chat, but I kind of appreciated what you had said about gearing your program towards your interests. And I've definitely, I'm at the last 4 classes in my program, and I really tried to pick one that kind of will relate to my thesis. Another one is consulting and professional practices, because it was like kind of one of the only classes that was dedicated to a role, and I am interested in coaching in some aspects. But I was wondering if you could say more about how consulting and coaching kind of blend together, like how your day-to-day duties kind of pull from both trainings, I guess.
I mean, it has taken me a very long time. I'm still not perfect to organize my business in the way that I like it, right? The way that makes sense to me, because I have a coaching background and consulting, obviously, and the way I did it is I believe, again, I'm an educator, right? I'm a teacher. So I believe that it's all about behavior change, right? How do we make people change behaviors? And that is a very difficult thing, as you know. So I believe the way that I think about this and the way that my business is set up, and it's not very clear what you're saying about it, that's the way that I do it, is that for me to develop your leaders or your managers, I understand that a one training is not going to do anything. Okay, so one training is not going to change anyone, especially when we're talking about those soft skills, like the ones that I mentioned, right? That because first of all, nobody teaches them, like how to provide feedback, how to solve conflict, how to set goals, how to align goals to business imperatives, things like that. But now that we know what to learn, a training is not going to do anything. A training, I mean, I can be there for 3 hours and then leave the organization. And like this, they're going to go back to what they were doing, right? I trained tons of people and they nod their heads and then they do whatever they want to do. So the way that I say is like, we need the extra, and the extra, I do it through coaching. So we do the training and then we have the coaching, and I do one-on-one coaching for the ones who want to do it like that. And I do group coaching for the cohorts, the teams who are receiving the training. So in that way, I am ensuring that it's not only one and done, that is only the education, the facilitation, the training, but also in a way that I know that I can reinforce that knowledge, I can reinforce the new skill, I can reinforce what they're learning through either one-on-one coaching or group coaching. So that's how I do it. I also do individual coaching. I don't do that as much anymore because one-on-one coaching takes a long time, and it takes a lot of time. And I prefer the groups, the cohorts, the working towards something, those communities of practice, those communities of learning. As I think about them in those ways, even though I don't use those words. But that's how I organize my building in terms of coaching and consulting. And there are many models, right? There are people who business owners who have a group of coaches, and they send coaches and so they can coach the managers. 6 coaches, they coach 6 managers, right? So there are other people who only do group coaching. So, but in the way that I do it, I do both. I do the consulting and I do the coaching, because I know that I have to fight the forgetting curve. So I need to give, right? Like 3 or 4 touch points a month, things like that.
That makes sense. And I kind of appreciate that you say, because I have interest in training, development, coaching, and so it's kind of like those things are kind of in the same job family. And I don't think that anyone has ever explained it in that way, like kind of how you're putting them all together. So it kind of says that I could put them all together in some.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of start looking around. There's a lot of organizations that have that way of blending both. Sometimes people I always say that sometimes people like to have the opportunity to talk about some of these things in private, one-on-one, right? So that's why coaching is good, and express things that they don't want to express in front of the group. I sometimes notice that a lot of people, maybe because I don't know, they don't have that need. No, maybe they're younger, they're very comfortable telling and expressing their things. I mean, they're in social media the whole time, right? So, so they are very comfortable sharing their stuff. I don't know, but I've noticed that when I set up, like, okay, so your package has these trainings and it has these coaching hours that you can use as you wish. I have a lot of people that they don't take advantage of those. There's a lot of also learning about what coaching is, and also there's been a big move to coaching as I come from the coaching school, or I'm not a mentor, I'm not an advisor, I don't give advice as a coach. I am but there's a big change about like, oh, I want to know how to do it. Tell me. So that's what I want from coaching. I want to know how to do it. Tell me. And so there's people are moving towards that because they're like, okay, that's what you want. Okay, I'll tell you how to do it. Right. So.
Yeah, thank you. That was really helpful. Appreciate it.
Of course. You're welcome.
Awesome. I know LR has another question about certification, and as far as I can put in my 2 cents and then I'll let you answer that question as well. But I know some of the consultants that we've had from big companies and other IO or consultants that have an IO background on paper. One of the things that they recommended is that you look into the company that you want to work for and then look at what is it that they're required, because a lot of them don't require any certification and some do. So you really, it goes back to what kind of consulting do you want to do? Do you want to do organizational development, or do you want to do change management? Like, what is it that you want to do? And then where do you want to work? And then you start working, tailoring your resume to what they're looking for. Especially if you're going to go for the big four, like the big ones, then you really have to be very specific. And then I will piggyback on what Dr. Alejandra was saying earlier. Do informational interviews, go out there and meet people on LinkedIn, ask them about how did you get here? Do you think I need to do this? Because a lot of times you don't need a lot of certifications. You need to just get out there and do. And I feel like sometimes we can get stuck on, let me get all these things on my resume and not get enough experience. And I feel going back to what you were saying, like it's important to go and do and learn and see how it works in the real world versus just getting all of this like things on your resume that may look good, but may not really prepare you for when you have to show up and do the work, which is a whole different side. What do you think?
As soon as you can go out and do. And sometimes the word, okay, when I blank, I will do. No. Or whenever blank, whatever it is, when I finish, when I have this class done, when I have this, when I have that. I mean, if somebody could have, okay, I'm gonna try again. If somebody would have told me that when I was younger, I mean, I think I've been a different person, because I'm still making my business work. So I want you to understand that it's never ending. I'm not tell my age. I'm a 54-year-old woman who's still trying to make a business survive, and I love it. Right? Of course, I love it, but it is. There was a lot of times when I was like, oh no, I'm not ready. I'm not this. I'm not that. Later. When I have this. And as soon as you go out and do, and especially when you're a student, try to find a newsletter that you can write. Whatever it is, go and knock on doors, go and have those informational interviews that Gaby is talking about, reach out to people. And you like statistics because of, but you know about, but you know that when you reach out to people, you get a 10% response rate. So if you reach out to 10 people, that means that one person is going to respond back. So that means that you're going to have either 9 no's or 9 ignorations, right? That they ignored, they didn't reply yes or no. So, and that kind of, that hurts. So you're going to have to be like, again, reframing that hurt. And they're like, no, it's not going to hurt. It's life. Because Dr. Alejandra said that I'm going to get only 1% of the one out of those 10 people that I reach out. Sometimes it might be less, right? So be prepared for that, but be hungry on trying to go and do the work. Don't stay behind the books. Don't stay behind it's a beautiful space, academia. It's a wonderful space. The conversations, the knowledge, the ideas, the discussions, the possibility. I mean, it's a wonderful, beautiful place. But you have to go out to the real world as soon as you can. It's essential. There's nothing like getting your hands in action as soon as you can. So in whatever. Yeah. And especially when you're young and you have all this strength and all this. I mean, now I sound like an old lady, but at some point you're gonna start losing some of that energy, and then you're like, and it's gonna take a little bit more than it used to take, right? So when you're young, you have all this energy, go out and knock on doors and talk to people, block your time. That's another very good, block your time. And if you block 2 hours a week to network, that's another thing. Please network. If you block 2 hours a week to network, 2 hours, wake up one day at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 to 8. That's it. And network and really knock on doors and send emails. Now with AI and ChatGPT, you can craft emails in a snap. Go to ChatGPT and send write email about asking for informational review, interview with this is my background. Click, there's an email. And it's amazing. It's amazing. You modify a little bit, right? But and you send it. I want to talk to you. Here's my phone number. Please reach out. You can text me, you can call me. I mean, of course, you have different levels of tolerance of people calling you at any time, right? Whatever. But reach out, and as soon as you can, get hands in action. That is the best advice that I did not have that. I did not. So it did not work for me that way. But anyway.
I like that. Usually towards the end of the call, I ask the speakers, like, give us some actionable steps. And I feel like you gave us more than enough. These are pretty specific. We can measure this, guys and gentlemen, ladies, everybody. We can measure. And I think it's true that once we're out of school or we're almost finishing school, whatever stage we're in, I think people are more likely to help a student. If you say, hey, I'm a student, whatever, fill in the blank. People are more likely to say, yes, of course, I'll help you. So I would say take advantage of that, because I'm still trying to milk a little bit of that. I graduated.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, there's something about reaching out to people. We have on that. I mean, we can have another conversation about our culture. I mean, in the case of the Latino culture, I don't know how many people are Latino here, but in the case of the Latino culture, it's very easy for me to understand why I don't like to reach out to people, because I don't want to bother them. I'm always that good, respectful girl, right? That is quiet and doesn't want to bother people, or so then I don't reach out. And that is ingrained in me, right? So we can have another conversation about that. But for whatever reason, understand, be aware, and set up goals. Like I said, 1 week, 2 hours, the next week, maybe 3 hours, the next week, develop the habit of always being in that mode of networking, getting to know people, looking for opportunities. And if the opportunity is not for you, like, you can send it to somebody else, right? And like, hey, I was this Saturday, I was in this banquet, I was in this festival, and I saw the organization, and I pick up the name. What are they? Who are they? What do they do? I talk to the organizer. I mean, there's multiple ways where you can be continually learning and understanding what the organization does. Who are they? Who's organizing this festival? Who's organizing this? And I think then you develop that habit, right? So then you are always reaching out to others. And again, work on those skills that are, I do leadership development, right? Like I said, I'm in the business of making leaders, and I have a beautiful leadership program that provides essential leadership skills that people need to lead effectively. Diverse teams, right? So we talk about how to provide feedback, how to delegate, how to build trust, how to set goals that align, and things like that. And I mean, people don't know how to do this. They don't know how to do this. They have no idea how to do this. Don't be that person. Find a way to learn that. Find a way to have an idea. Find a way to learn. Have develop so you have those skills, and develop the habit of getting to know, seeing other, and develop how to start thinking as a leader. Is you have to, little by little, and I'll start moving up and start having like an eagle view, right? So we can start seeing things from a higher perspective. So we can see how things interconnect with each other. So we have that mind, so we can develop that mind of a CEO, things like that, right? So, but I might guess we're talking too much. I might be, but anyway, have that idea and start thinking about how am I developing my thinking to the next level, But first you have to learn some of the skills that people don't know. People come out and they have pit in their stomach, a hole in their stomach, because they have to give a performance evaluation, or they have to have a one-on-one meeting, and they don't know how to have an effective one-on-one meeting. So those skills are essential for the workplace. So I mean, that's what I do. I love it. I love it. So find a way for you to learn those skills. So those are essential skills that are very noticeable when somebody comes and they know. You might have a hard time putting them in the resume, right? But but find a way to do that. And like I said, any single little project that you can add there to the resume, and start early. Unfortunately, it's like baseball. The kids are playing baseball and they're 5 years old, 6 years old. By the time you're 12, and you're like, oh, I like baseball. Oh, everyone plays better baseball better than you, right? And like, what happened to my kid? And I'm like, well, you didn't play baseball. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But sometimes it has to be done. Okay.
I agree with you. And I think sometimes one part of what you were saying made me think about community. You have to find community. You have to find people that you feel comfortable with. For me, it was finding that Latina Hispanic community, because I grew up and I didn't have that professional role model that could tell me, hey, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to step out of that comfort zone because of our culture or whatever. That I had to find that in order to feel like, oh, okay, I got you. We'll finish here in a little bit. So anyway, just to wrap that thought up, find community, do your informational interviews, make sure you're reaching out, make sure you're networking intentionally, always have a plan, and take care of yourself. Don't try to do everything at once. It does take time. It takes a lot of time. And I think that's one myth that we've come to believe, that everything happens overnight. It doesn't. A career in what we do in the IO field, it's so vast and diverse right now. Nobody knows how to get anywhere. So that's a good thing, because we can make anything we want. So it's a good thing. We're in all of this chaos together, and we can make it an organized chaos. So Dr. Alejandra, thank you so much for being with us.
Of course.
Understand, sharing your wisdom. I love that you're just very clear and authentic in what you have to say all the time. So I really appreciate that. Everybody, if you guys have any questions, you can always email me, message me on LinkedIn, reach out to Dr. Alejandra. She's very responsive. And
so that's my name, and I don't have my LinkedIn here now, so I cannot put my LinkedIn link, whatever. But look for me. I think I'm the Alejandra Milke in LinkedIn, so I'm easy to find. So thank you for having me.
I was gonna say, you can also click on her name on the post that we shared on SEBOC, so you can easily find her.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I have a hard stop, so I have to go. I'm actually going to go to a soccer game. So I have to go. I know they're coming to pick me up. But thank you for everyone. Good luck. Reach out if you ever need some help.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and hang out. Thank you, Dr. Alejandra. I'm going to hang out.
Bye. Take care.
If you guys want to share your LinkedIn's, go do so. Just put it on the chat. I'll wait and hang out for a couple seconds so everybody can connect if y'all want to. And Dr. Alejandra does a lot of talks if you liked what you heard about different topics. So make sure you follow her. And the Bridgeify group is also super interesting. They do a lot of really cool stuff, research and whatnot, and getting that into the workplace. So if you want to learn more about that, follow them as well. And I also have to get off here in a little bit. So if you guys are good, yay, I'm glad you enjoyed the meeting. Come back. Tiana, I'm so happy to see you. Every time I see your face, I'm like, yeah, she's here, she's back. I'm happy to see you. Awesome. All right, everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and hang out for one more minute. I also have to run out and do stuff, but all right. Well, you all have a lovely, lovely evening. I will see y'all in 2 weeks from now. You are welcome. You have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.